we've all had a chance to think and prioritize about the things that are most important to us. What would you say are the 3 to 5 things that you care most about in your life and your career?
First of all, of course, there's my family, my immediate family, so my wife and my 4 kids, and my extended family, all of whom live in the Netherlands, which is far away. And in the context of the pandemic, that I mean, this is obviously not a surprising answer, but what the pandemic, I'm used to living in the States with my extended family being in Europe, and I'm used to knowing that I can jump on a plane anytime and be with them, if be with my parents or anybody else from my family if I wanted to or needed to. That of course has been suddenly really much more complicated. So to your point, that made me realize even more than ever before what it means to actually be far away, and how important those relationships are for me. Another thing that's really important for me is let's say the outdoors. So I live on a river. I'm overlooking a little lake here. I spend a lot of time outside, and that is, and I like the outside in this part of the world a lot. So that's a key reason why I'm here. And when it comes to work, I consider myself incredibly, as Americans say, blessed with the fact that I work at PepsiCo, which is a company that has so far been able to weather the pandemic quite well, right? Of course, the pandemic is a disaster in too many different ways to describe for all of us and for a lot of people. But and it has brought a lot of change to our business. But the company has done a remarkable job shifting gears and really taking really good care of the business, of its customers, but also of its employees. So I consider myself really lucky to be in this place. And then finally, I love the job that I have, right? So I'm responsible for consumer insights, and I like people a lot, and I happen to be the most curious person I know. So I'm also in a constant state of amazement, even more than I was before the pandemic, about why consumers, why people like myself and the two of you, why we do what we do and why we make the decisions that we make, both big and small decisions.
Very interesting. And when you say that you really like people, so then when it comes to friendships, the friends who you are closest with today, what would you say are some of the things that you value most in those relationships?
Both camaraderie and mutual challenge. So I like friendships where I can be, well, obviously the camaraderie angle, where I feel safe and where I feel home in the non-literal sense of the word, but also I like friendships that challenge me, and I like hanging out with friends that I can challenge on anything, on what we think or believe, or just to make fun of each other.
It's usually the best part.
Yeah, sometimes it is. Yeah.
The reason I ask you specifically about this question is because I think that there are often commonalities between what people value in human relationships and the values that they associate with the brands that are important in their lives. So describe for us a brand experience that you recently had that was very, very frustrating. No need to name the brand, just what about the experience that was so bad?
I go to those service type of brands, and there is a company here called Optimum, which is which could not have chosen its name more cynically. they provide internet, and they provide TV, and they provide those type of services to my home. And there's a peculiar situation with them is that I don't really have another option, and they know it. And so whenever something is amiss with them, which is quite often, especially at this time of year, because I live in the United States, so every cable goes above ground. So every tree branch that falls anywhere in the Northeast messes up my internet. They position themselves as a brand, so that is a very, let's say, difficult relationship. To make that connection that you just made, Jasmine, I don't feel any camaraderie whatsoever with those people.
I have to interject for a second, Stephan, and say that Optimum is the only brand that I've ever in my life reported to the Better Business Bureau. Just a coincidence there. We didn't know that before this.
You should join the force then, Kevin. I'm ready. I'm ready to help fight your cause.
But me not being American, or I haven't been, how come it's the only choice?
Yeah, that's a good point. But
after today's society, right? There's
yeah,
so
exactly.
many.
But technically there is another choice, and that is you buy a satellite dish, right? And you put it on your roof, and you go that way. But again, that is a big hassle. Plus, I said earlier, a little bit about how I live. There's a lot of trees, very high trees around my house. So a satellite dish apparently is also not ideal. So I'm really kind of screwed. I kind of stuck with this company.
So let's go to the positive side of it then. So now we are curious to know, what about a memory from a really good brand experience?
Is music in my house, and music to help change, let's say, the vibe in the house, or change something around. And I'm not bringing this up just because it happens to be a space of your area of interest, Jasmine.
No, I'm sure.
There's two brands I can pick, Spotify and Sonos. Let me pick Sonos there, because Sonos has really made it so easy to access music in so many practical ways. And it just works so well. That is a brand that I have very positive experiences with, like every single day.
Would you then say that Sonos are great at working with Limbic Sparks in their experiences? Did you like the emotional motivation meet brand desire feeling?
Sonos is really one of those brands that has such a strong product that the moment I remember, let's say, discovering that product and discovering the benefits of that product, I was already sold, if you want. The Sonos is not a brand that, at least in my perception, has spent a lot of time or money convincing me of anything but their functional excellence. From day one, created products that are not necessarily gorgeous, but acceptable, right, to put in your house. That struck a chord with me, so I guess you could call that a Limbic Spark, right?
And how many products of Sonos do you have? You have to like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
7, I think. 7 different speakers, basically, right? Yeah. And an app.
Yeah. Yeah. And then so Sonos and Spotify together becomes even more Spark.
Yeah.